In this video, you'll learn how to create detail views and place various detail components in the detail views. You'll also see how to use detail views from one project in another project. When creating details, you first need to decide what type of view you want to use. You can use detail views that are associated with the model, or you can use drafting views that are independent of the model. For example, here we have a detail view, and you can see the model elements here in the view. Detail views can be section views or callout views. Additionally, you can create a drafting view by switching to the View tab, and then in the Create panel, click Drafting View. When creating a drafting view, you can specify the name and then choose the scale, and then click OK. And now you have a drafting view. And as you can see, it's blank, and you can switch to the Annotate tab and use the various tools to create a detail. So once again, are you going to create a detail that's based on the model? Then you use a detail view. If you want it independent, then you use a drafting view. Additionally, when you create a section or a callout, for example, I'll start the section tool, you can choose to reference another view. And this could be a drafting view or a detail view. So be aware of that functionality in Revit. Also, it's important that you know how to configure various detail elements. When I switch to the Manage tab and in the Settings panel expand the Additional Settings button, you can see several options here. Let's start by looking at line styles. When you click Line Styles, it opens the Line Styles dialog. And here you actually see the lines category and then various subcategories. So when you create a new line style, you actually create a subcategory of lines. Under Modify Subcategories, click New, and this opens the New Subcategory dialog. For this example, let's enter red-5 and then click OK. Now we have a new subcategory, and we'll change the line weight to 5, and then we'll change the line color to red. And now we have a thick red line. Let's click OK to close the Line Styles dialog, and then go back to the additional settings options here. Click Fill Patterns to open the Fill Patterns dialog. You can create drafting patterns or model patterns. When you take a look at the differences, you can see that drafting patterns are more symbolic, whereas model patterns represent actual sizes of something that would indicate a model element. They're not actually model elements, but for example, with 4-inch tile, it's a pattern that will represent 4-inch tile. You can create new fill patterns, edit fill patterns, and even duplicate fill patterns. For example, I'll duplicate the 4-inch tile, and let's name it 6-inch tile. When you create a model fill pattern, it can be a basic pattern or a custom pattern. And when it's basic, it can have crosshatch lines or parallel lines. And then you simply control the line angle and the spacing of each line, depending on how many lines you have. So we'll change this to 6-inch spacing, and then click OK. Similarly, when you create a drafting pattern, you can create a basic pattern or a custom pattern. When you use a custom pattern, you can then import a PAT file. I'll click Cancel for now, and click Cancel to close the Fill Patterns dialog. Let's take a look at how to use some of these tools. I'll switch to the drafting view, and then on the Annotate tab, in the Detail panel, I'll click Detail Line, and then on the Contextual Ribbon tab, I'll expand the Line Style dropdown and select Red-5, the line style we just created. And I'll use the Rectangle option and simply sketch a rectangle. And then I'll click Modify to end the command. At this point, we could use the various tools to place filled regions or detail components or repeating details and create a detail inside of our rectangle. For this example, we'll go back to the Detail view and take a look at a few other things here that we can do. To begin, we'll look back at the Detail panel, and I'll expand the Component Split button and click Detail Component. And when I look in the Type selector, you can see that there are several detail components that have been loaded into this project. For now, I'm going to click Modify to end the command, and then I'll go back and activate the Repeating Detail Component tool. And before we create a repeating detail component, let's click Edit Type to open the Type Properties dialog, and then we can see all of the type parameters that make up a repeating detail type. When I expand the Detail dropdown, we can see all of the same detail components that were available when we were looking at the detail component types that were available. So the point here is that when you create a repeating detail, it's based on a specific detail component. And then you can control the layout method, and there are several options there, such as fixed distance or fixed number. And depending on which option you choose, you can then control the spacing. Just a quick note there, if you choose fixed number, the spacing becomes unavailable, and then you control the number of the actual repeating detail element. But for the other options here, you can control the spacing here in the Type Properties dialog. And you can even add a rotation to the repeating detail component. I'll click OK, and then I will click here at the base of this wall and create a repeating detail component, and then click Modify to end the command. And now you can see the brick repeating detail, and I'll change it to the brick with mortar repeating detail, and we can see a little bit more detailed repeating detail component there. Let's go back and look at another tool. I'm going to activate the Filled Region tool, and then let's change the type to Earth, and I'm going to use the Line option, and I will sketch a region. And if we need to do a little cleanup here, make sure we create a closed loop, and then I'll click Finish Edit Mode, and now we have a filled region. If you want, you can switch to the final version here and see several more detail components placed. But once again, there are several tools available on the Annotate tab that you can use to create a detail. Lastly, on the Insert tab in the Load from Library panel, expand the Insert from File tool, and you can see that there are two options here: Insert Views from File and Insert 2D Elements from File. So once you have a detail created in one project, or even a project template, you could insert it into another project. The Insert Views from File will copy a specific view. And as you can see there in the tooltip, it'll allow you to copy a drafting view. Whereas Insert 2D Elements from File, that will allow you to copy 2D elements from a detail view. So just like what we have right here in this current view, we have all of these detail components, And so we could use the insert 2D elements from file. We could open up another project and then use that tool to copy those from this specific project. So be aware that those tools are available so you don't have to recreate those details in every single project.